Hello, art band friends. It's March, and even though it's super cold and windy here in Maine, we have been thinking about the spring approaching and all the things we'd like to do once we start seeing some warmer weather. And here at Art Band, we've been thinking a lot about a day at the beach. So this bag's theme is, what do you see? S-E-A.
It's our project list. What do you see? It's a hint for what's in the bag. We have some cardstock. We're gonna have some dowels, some other pieces of wood. These are for the mobile project. We have some acrylic paint, one wire, and some yarn, and my favorite part, a whole bunch of seashells. So I'm going to open up this paint by bending this back, peel the cover off like this. You can recycle this. Poke a hole in it. There's two new paintbrushes, flat one and one for making really fine lines, and some acrylic paint. Okay, so these open up like this. You hold your thumb down on this one, pop this open, and make sure you're doing it on a flat surface. If you're holding this in your lap while you try to open it, the paint's gonna splatter everywhere. We don't wanna do that. So one of the projects on the list, we can do a little demo, is about painting the top of the waves on the ocean that are really rough and wavy. And then thinking about how we move down through the water, and it gets calmer and darker down here at the bottom. So we'll do some layers. So in between, I just used the blue. You want to get a cup of water to rinse your brush off before you go into another color of paint. Otherwise, they'll get all mixed up, right? So I'm going to put some little plants down at the bottom. And this is kind of my cool bottom of the ocean. We can also use the paint to imagine a sea creature that would be living in our water. So I'm going to imagine a little purple octopus. I'm going to rinse my brush off, and I'm going to want to add more to this later, but I'm going to let it dry for now, so I'm going to set it aside. I'm going to use my paper bag to put underneath the seashells so that I don't get any paint on this table. So if you guys are working on the seashells, it's a good idea to have something underneath them. The dowels are for making a mobile, which is one of our projects this week. So you can paint these. And then on my mobile, so mobile is a sculpture that moves, but often it's something that hangs. So you can use your yarn to tie around, this is your base, like this. And then what I'm gonna do is take one of my painted seashells, take one of this pieces of wire, gonna untwist it. Okay, so I'm gonna wrap this around the seashell. We'll start at the bottom, go all the way around, and try and wrap as much of it as you can so it won't fall out. Okay, it's gonna be kind of a little harness. So let's see, does it secure? Yay, I did it. So it's wrapped a little bit around the bottom and a little bit on the sides. And then I made a little loop so I can tie my yarn to here. And then I have a seashell that hangs. So you could find things outside like pine cones or acorns. You could find stuff in your house. Or you could hang a whole row of seashells that you painted off of your base. And you can keep working on it even after it's already been hung, right? Cool. So sometimes when you want to add things on top of other colors, you need to wait till the paint dries. The legs are a little dry, a little wet still, but I wanted to give my octopus a little face, and I needed to wait for the purple to dry to do that. So once paint dries, you can add layers to it. And I really like to do that. So since this is all dry, I can go right back over it without it getting mixed in. And I can add a bunch in the bottom. If you mix it with a little bit of water, oops, I broke my own rule. I didn't wash my brush off. If you mix it with water, it'll spread out a little bit more. You'll get more mileage out of this paint. Dip it in water. There. Okay, so when you're all done painting, it's super important to finish the cleanup. So for this, it involves making sure that these lids are closed super tight. Can you hear that? They'll pop when they're closed all the way. You don't want them to dry out and you don't want them to spill anywhere, okay? And also, just like I just did, make sure your brushes are nice and clean, because if the paint dries on them, you won't be able to use them anymore, okay?